Hi, this is Amanda Harder here with the bojack Horseman assignment. The first thing I want to go over in terms of bojack's philosophical significance is one important formal feature that recurs throughout the series, being the open sequence. As you will see in the opening sequence, we pan into bojack's beautiful home that he worked very hard for here in Hollywood, showing, his material wealth and success. As the opening sequence keeps going, we will see some recurring figures in Bojack's life, such as Diane and Todd, all of these people who care about him and want to see him succeed. We see these two symbols of his success, both socially and in terms of monetary funds. But in the forefront, Bojack seemingly has no look in his eyes. He has no engagement towards his surroundings or, the luxury he is living. This will go on to show that Bojack has some sort of reconciliation to do, whether that be in his social relationships or on his career field or, his own inner workings. So what is at Bojack's spiritual core? There are several examples to come up with, but two obvious ones that I've decided to present here are Nietzsche's artist, in that he lives dangerously, he is a total reckless alcoholic party animal, creating his own meaning through whatever it is he's feeling that day. He totally embraces the world and its contingency. He is a recurring example of a total nihilist in that he doesn't see any true absolute purpose in the temporal, which is something that I believe Nietzsche would agree with, that he has no moral such as Christianity or anything like that that's leading him. Another example, which may be a bit of a stretch, is Kierkegaard's Knight of Faith, in that he has several commitments throughout the series, whether that be acting, through his romantic relationships, or any of the following. Whether they are unconditional commitments or not, though, is yet to be seen. One thing that continues to recur within Bojack is his faith in the total absurd, that whether he can receive salvation, both spiritually and with his friends, whether he can become a good actor or, achieve his own definition of peace or success, that is all completely absurd, as Bojack's character is such a mess. So another part of the first episode that I wanted to go over in terms of philosophical stance is this part right here.
Well, Penguin wants an update on your progress. Does Tuesday work for you? Or are you going to be too busy this week masturbating to old pictures of yourself?
I told you that's not what was happening that time. I was masturbating to what the picture represented. You walked in at the worst possible moment.
So although that scene can seem like a bit of comic relief, it actually has quite a bit of philosophical weight in terms of Bojack. If you will see on the image on the right, Bojack is attempting to record his autobiography, seemingly disengaged with that, like he is in every important aspect of his life. But another thing to notice is the portrait behind him, which is actually a recurring theme throughout the series. The portrait, although you can't see its entirety, is seemingly a photo of Bojack in which he is standing in front of the pool staring down at what is seemingly also Bojack suspended within the pool. Although right now it is not apparent that this is such an important philosophical stance, later on in the show that will become much more evident. But one example to immediately point towards is the similarities between the myth of Narcissus and Bojack's philosophical stance, in that one day it will consume him. So to get more into Kierkegaard's Knight of Faith in Bojack, I think it's important to show this scene.
Oh, face it, you're afraid of commitment.
I'm not afraid of commitment. I commit to things all the time. It's the following through on that commitment that I take issue with.
Hey, stupid, isn't that your friend over there? Oh, face.
So this is an example of Bojack's disconnect with his own reality and the way that it is perceived by others in his life. One example of Kierkegaard's Knight of Faith is that it results in a barrier for communication for that who commits and the person who watches this commitment unfold. So Princess Carolyn is seeing it how it is, that Bojack has never truly committed to anything in his life, and they're all empty promises and things like that. But for Bojack, he believes he is so committed, he has worked very hard, and it's just the way the cards have been played, in that he hasn't succeeded in any of his commitments. But he's also aligned with Kierkegaard in that he rejects contemporary society in this respect. He completely disagrees with Princess Carolyn. He always acts as a foil for her own character in the rest of the series. And he obviously rejects the ascetic lifestyle in that he's raging every night. He is working for this Oscar. And we'll see if that comes back to play towards his salvation or his detriment. So how can Bojack be saved? So based on this image in season 6, it's a bit of a spoiler in that Bojack seemingly dies in his own pool after breaking into what used to be his home. Obviously, this is a callback from the portrait mentioned before, and that has been seen throughout the series, but this is also a big turning point in that his salvation can be determined in 2 different ways philosophically here. The first option is that after Bojack is resuscitated, he can make the complete 180. He can follow the Kierkegaardian United Faith path in that he finds a commitment to finally settle down with that will be his existential purpose for the rest of his time on Earth. In season 6, Bojack goes on to teach at Wesleyan University in Chicago, where his daughter used to go, in that, excuse me on that. But in that he starts teaching at Wesleyan University, where his sister goes. He can rely in the faith in the absurd that no matter how many mistakes he's made in the past, he can now forgive himself, living in the temporal and embracing it in his new his new passion for teaching others and giving back to the acting community. This could be his life-deciding purpose. The other more reasonable option in Bojack's case would be the Nietzsche path, in that he accepts his awfulness. He accepts his own spirit and takes responsibility for it, no longer depending on others' validation or others' opinions to give him value. He would embrace his whole self. He would go on drinking and go on leaving this entire path of damage. And he would be okay with it because he's a free spirit and he doesn't have to follow anyone else. He would divest responsibility for the truth. As we've already seen, he's a complete rejecter of traditional Christianity or any moral holdings thereof. So in conclusion, Bojack is a very complicated character, and it is difficult to really resume him from one philosophy or another. I believe Bojack's true salvation would lie within a bit of both. He can realize how much his own choices have affected others, in that he can rely on Dostoevsky's chain reaction of salvation, that he could really be the first chain in that salvation. In that he can also grasp a Kierkegaardian sort of commitment. He can keep going with either acting or being a professor, something that would give him an outlet or something that would give him perceived value. Or he can really, and along with that, he can have Nietzsche's form of embracing himself. On the image on the right is one of my favorite episodes. It's hard to explain, and you'll definitely need to watch it on your own to really understand the depth behind this image on the right. But Bojack needs to do a lot of self-reconciliation. He needs to come to terms with how bad of a person he is, and he needs to reconcile that. Whether that be through Nietzsche or Kierkegaard is yet to be seen, even though the series is already over. But it is definitely going to be a mix and a strong effort for that to be accomplished.